Teen sleepwalking turned terrifying. Then Mom found scratches on the walls. Lily was 16 now, quiet and introspective, always sketching in her notebook instead of glued to a phone like other kids her age. She'd been having trouble sleeping since school started again in September. First, it was just tossing and turning. Then came the sleepwalking. At first, it was harmless. Lily would wander into the kitchen, make herself a glass of water, then return to bed without waking. Marianne thought it was stress, but as October deepened and the nights grew longer, Lily's episodes became more intense. She began walking farther, once making it all the way to the porch before stepping barefoot onto the frost-coated grass. She mumbled things when she walked, odd phrases that didn't make sense. "The door is never locked," she whispered one time. Another night, she said, "They're waiting." It was unsettling, but what happened the morning after the windstorm changed everything. Marianne woke up to a gray sky in a house that felt too quiet. She called out to Lily but got no response. When she went down the hall, she saw the bathroom light on, steam curling from beneath the door. But as she passed the hallway wall near the landing, something caught her eye, a jagged line across the paint. She stopped, blinked, then stepped closer. It wasn't new drywall damage from moving furniture. This looked like claw marks. There were 3 of them, uneven and deep enough to expose the wood beneath. Her stomach twisted. "Lily," she called, heart racing. "I'm here," came the sleepy reply. When Lily emerged, bleary-eyed and dressed, Marianne asked if she remembered anything unusual from the night before. Lily shook her head. "Just dreams. I don't know what about." That night, Marianne stayed awake listening. She waited until the house settled into silence, then kept her eyes on the hallway from the top of the stairs. Nothing, not even a creak. But in the morning, there they were, more scratches, this time near the stairwell. Unmistakable. Dr. Paul Reeves had delivered Lily himself, back when Marianne was still grieving the loss of her husband. He'd watched her grow from a wide-eyed toddler into the thoughtful girl she was today. So when Marianne called him, not to book an appointment, but just to talk, he agreed to stop by. He examined the walls, frowned, listened intently as Lily described the dream she couldn't quite remember. "She might be under some psychological stress," he offered carefully. "Adolescence can manifest in strange ways." "She wouldn't do this on purpose," Marianne said firmly, and the doors were closed, locked. Paul hesitated. "We'll run some blood work, rule out deficiencies, hormonal changes." But as he packed up his bag, he gave her a look, one she recognized from years ago, when he'd told her Jeff's cancer was terminal. Sympathy mixed with doubt. By week's end, Lily was waking up with more than just confusion. One morning, she showed her mother her hands, dirt under her nails, soil crusted around her cuticles. "I must have gone outside again," she murmured, staring at them like they belonged to someone else. Later that day, she rolled up her sleeve to reveal purple bruises blooming along her forearm. "I don't remember falling," she said softly. "I don't remember anything." Marianne installed 2 cameras, one near the top of the stairs, another pointing toward Lily's bedroom door. Just footage, nothing invasive. For 2 nights, the cameras recorded Lily's travels through the house, sleepwalking again, muttering again. No harm done. But on the 3rd night, the night of the full moon, the system shut off entirely. No recording, no warning, just static. With each passing day, Marianne felt more trapped in a nightmare she couldn't explain. Desperate for answers, she searched online for stories similar to Lily's. There were reports, rare but real, of extreme sleepwalking behaviors, some even violent. None of it made her feel better. One afternoon, while cleaning Lily's closet, she noticed something odd. The back panel wobbled slightly when she leaned against it. Curious, she pushed aside the clothes and pressed harder. With a soft creak, the panel swung inward, revealing a narrow crawl space behind the wall. Heart pounding, she reached inside with a flashlight and found a small wooden box. Inside was a photograph, faded, curled at the edges. A teenage girl stared back at her. Her face was unmistakably familiar. It was Lily. Except the photo was dated October 1967. and the name scrawled on the back in neat handwriting read, Lily Harper. Marianne dropped the picture like it burned her fingers. Behind her, upstairs, something scraped against the wall, again and again, like nails dragging across wood. Marianne sat at the kitchen table, the faded photograph of Lily Harper beside a printout from the Maple Hollow Historical Society's website. Her coffee had gone cold hours ago. The house, this house, hadn't always belonged to the Harpers. Originally built in 1892, it was constructed for the Whitmore family, one of the town's founding clans. Prominent landowners, respected and wealthy, their names still lingered on street signs and old plaques around town, but there hadn't been a Whitmore in Maple Hollow since the early 1900s. And that was where Marianne's search led her next. According to the records she dug up at the town library, the last known Whitmore resident was Eliza Whitmore, a 16-year-old girl who vanished without explanation in October 1904. There was no body ever found, no ransom note. Just one night she left her room while sleepwalking and never came back. The local newspaper article was brief but chilling. Eliza Whitmore, daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Samuel Whitmore, was last seen walking the halls in a trance-like state. She had recently begun sleepwalking with increasing frequency. On the evening of October 13th, she disappeared from the home. Despite an extensive search, neither she nor any trace of her has been located. Marianne stared at the name on the page, then thought again of the photo behind Lily's closet. Lily Harper. And yet, she looked exactly like Lily. Coincidence? She didn't believe in those anymore. Marianne confronted Dr. Paul Reeves the next morning, showing him the photo and the historical record. At first, he denied knowing anything, offering vague reassurances about misinterpretation and faulty memories. But when she pressed harder, showing him the similarity between Eliza Whitmore and Lily, the scratches, the sleepwalking, he finally exhaled heavily and sat down. There were rumors, he admitted, when you were younger, about your family. Your mother used to talk about them sometimes. My mother? Marianne asked sharply. Paul hesitated. Your mother believed the Whitmores weren't just ancestors. They were something else. Something tied to the house. She said they didn't die out. They lived on through bloodlines, through dreams. That sounds like superstition, Marianne replied, though even as she said it, she remembered her mother's odd habits. How she avoided certain rooms late at night, how she used to whisper prayers before bedtime, not for protection from God, but from something else. I never believed her, Paul said, rubbing his temples. But I remember seeing a girl once, when I was a boy, same age as Lily, walking the hallway outside the old Whitmore house, talking to someone who wasn't there. He looked up at Marianne. She looked just like Lily, too. That night, Marianne couldn't sleep. She went into Lily's room while her daughter dozed uneasily, watching her chest rise and fall. Every so often, Lily would shift, mumble something unintelligible. Marianne leaned closer. Don't open the door, Lily whispered. Lily, honey, wake up. But Lily only turned over, tucking herself deeper under the covers. The next day, Marianne visited the town cemetery with the help of a librarian friend. They searched for Whitmore family plots. There was none for Eliza, only a stone marker buried among overgrown weeds. In memory of Eliza Whitmore, lost to the night 1904, underneath, scratched by hand or time, barely legible. She walks still. Beware the walls. Marianne felt a chill crawl up her spine. Back home, as dust settled, she stood in the hallway where the scratches marred the paint. She ran her fingers along the grooves. Something told her these weren't Lily's doing. Not entirely. It was almost like someone else had been trying to get out. Or get in. And whoever, or whatever it was, it knew Lily was here now. It started the next morning. Marianne was in the kitchen, making coffee and trying to shake off her unease from the cemetery visit, when she heard it. A soft hum. At first she thought it was the refrigerator motor or the wind outside, but then she realized it was coming from upstairs. She climbed quietly, following the sound to Lily's room. The door was cracked open just a bit. Lily sat at her desk, sketching absent-mindedly with charcoal, her brow furrowed in concentration, and all the while she hummed, low, melancholy. Marianne froze. The tune was unfamiliar, yet hauntingly old-fashioned. It reminded her of something out of a black-and-white film or an old lullaby sung by candlelight. Only she'd never taught Lily that song. In fact, she wasn't sure anyone alive still knew it. After a moment, she stepped into the room. "Sweetheart, where did you hear that song?" Lily blinked, startled. She looked down at her hands as if they had betrayed her. "I don't know," she said slowly. "I just woke up humming it." Marianne swallowed hard. "I think I need to find out what this means." That afternoon, Marianne returned to the town library. Armed with only the vague memory of the melody, she asked the librarian for help identifying any songs matching its rhythm or tone. They searched through old music collections, folk tunes, and even lullabies once common in Vermont households. Nothing matched exactly, until Marianne mentioned Eliza Whitmore. The librarian paused, then pulled a dusty ledger from behind the counter. "There's a record here," she said, "from a town midwife's journal in 1902. She wrote about helping care for Eliza during one of her sleepwalking episodes. Mentioned that Eliza often calmed down when someone sang a particular lullaby to her." She flipped a few pages. "It was passed down through the Whitmore women," the librarian continued. "Never written down, only sung." Marianne's breath caught in her throat. "Can you remember what it sounded like?" The librarian hesitated, then softly, tentatively, hummed a tune. Marianne closed her eyes. It was the same one Lily had been humming. Back home that evening, Marianne sat across from Lily at the dining table. "Do you ever feel like you're not fully yourself?" she asked carefully. Lily frowned. "What do you mean? Like you're remembering things you've never lived? Hearing voices? Feeling pulled somewhere you can't explain?" Lily lowered her fork. "Sometimes," she admitted, "in my dreams. I walk through rooms I don't recognize. There's always someone else there, watching me, talking to me, but I can't see them clearly." "Her name is Eliza," Marianne whispered. Lily nodded slowly as if she already knew. "I think she wants me to finish what she started." Before Marianne could respond, the scratching came again, this time softer, closer, like someone standing just beyond the wall, listening, waiting, and finally remembered. The first therapy session was a disaster. Lily sat stiff-backed in the chair, arms crossed, barely speaking. When asked how she felt about her sleepwalking, she shrugged. "I don't remember doing it," she said. "So why does it matter?" Marianne, seated nearby, leaned forward anxiously. "Because it's getting worse. You're showing up with bruises and dirt under your nails like someone else is living inside your skin." Dr. Caldwell, the therapist, gave Lily a gentle smile. "Do you feel that way? Like you're not in control?" Lily didn't answer right away. Then softly, "Sometimes I feel like I'm remembering things, but they're not mine." Afterward, on the drive home, Lily stared out the window in silence. "Thank you for trying," Marianne said quietly. "I didn't try," Lily snapped. "I didn't want to be there. You have to let people help you." "I'm not sick." Her voice cracked at the end, like she wasn't sure if she believed it. Over the next week, Marianne doubled down. She scheduled another round of blood tests with Dr. Reeves, even though he warned her not to expect medical miracles. She brought Lily to a neurologist an hour away, who ran scans and offered vague theories about REM behavior disorder and trauma-induced dissociation. Every appointment ended the same way, with Lily quiet, withdrawn, slipping further into herself. And then the arguments began. "You're treating me like I'm crazy," Lily shouted one night after dinner. "No, I'm treating you like you're in danger." "From what? Myself? Or from whatever ghost story you've convinced yourself is real?" Marianne flinched as if slapped. "I'm trying to save you, Lily." "Well, stop." Lily's eyes were full of tears now. "You're making it worse. Every time you drag me somewhere new, every time you ask me questions I can't answer, it just makes her stronger." There was a long pause. Her? Marianne whispered. Lily looked away. I don't know who else to call her. That night, Marianne sat alone in the kitchen, staring at the photo of Lily Harper. Eliza Whitmore, wondering which name belonged to the girl haunting her daughter. Upstairs, Lily didn't come out of her room. For 2 days, she spoke only when necessary. She stopped sketching, stopped eating regular meals. Even her sleepwalking ceased, or so it seemed. Then on the third night, Marianne woke to the sound of humming. Soft, sad. Standing outside Lily's door, she listened. It wasn't Lily. This voice was deeper, older, yet unmistakably familiar. Marianne turned the knob slowly. Inside, Lily lay asleep, but her lips weren't moving. Still, the lullaby played on, as if carried by someone no longer bound by the walls of this house, but finding her way back through them. Marianne sat alone in the dim glow of the living room, a half-drunk cup of tea gone cold beside her. Outside, the wind rattled the windows with brittle autumn fingers. Inside, Lily's silence pressed down on her like a second night. She stared at the photo again, Eliza Whitmore, or Lily Harper, whoever she really was. And then she thought about Jeff. Her husband had died 5 years ago, just after Lily turned 11. The cancer came fast and merciless. One day he was making weekend pancakes and teasing Lily about her messy hair. The next, he was in hospice, whispering goodbye through cracked lips. Marianne had held his hand when he passed, stood stiffly as people offered condolences, smiled politely at the funeral. She kept everything together, for Lily's sake. That was what you did, wasn't it? Stay strong. But maybe that was the problem. Maybe strength looked different than she thought. That night, Marianne found herself standing outside Lily's door again. Not to check for sleepwalking. Not this time. Just to listen. To be there. She remembered the weeks after Jeff died, how she buried herself in work to avoid the hollow ache at home, how she filled their house with routine so they wouldn't have to face the quiet. Meals at exact times. Bed by 10. No talking back. No crying aloud. Was that how Lily saw love? As something tightly controlled? Something that couldn't afford softness? Had she taught her daughter to bury her sadness the same way she'd buried her grief? For the first time since this all began, she wondered if Eliza's ghost, or whatever was reaching through Lily, wasn't the only specter haunting them. There was another one. One born not from the past, but from the silence between mother and daughter. One that lived in the things left unsaid. The next morning, Lily crept downstairs, eyes puffy and distant. Marianne didn't press her for details, didn't ask about last night's humming or where she'd gone while asleep. Instead, she poured 2 bowls of cereal and gestured to the table. They sat across from each other in a quiet that no longer felt like a wall. I'm sorry, Marianne said finally, for being so focused on fixing this that I forgot to just be here. Lily blinked, surprised. You don't think I'm crazy? I think, Marianne hesitated, choosing her words carefully. I think you're carrying something I don't understand. And I've been trying to fight it instead of listening to it. To you, Lily pushed her spoon around the bowl. It's not always scary. Sometimes it feels like someone who misses me. Marianne swallowed hard. Like Eliza? Or someone like her? Lily paused. But I don't think she wants to hurt me. I think she just wants to be heard. Silence settled between them again. This time it felt like an opening. Not a closing. And for the first time in a long while, Marianne reached out, and Lily took her hand. The attic had always been a place of storage, not exploration. Boxes stacked high with holiday decorations, old furniture wrapped in sheets, stacks of photo albums yellowed with age. But now it felt different, like a door that had just creaked open after decades of silence. Marianne climbed the narrow staircase with a flashlight, her breath shallow from both exertion and nerves. She remembered how Lily had described Eliza, not as a ghost or intruder, but as someone lost searching for something or someone. She ran her fingers along the floorboards near an old trunk. There was a faint seam, almost imperceptible, where one board lifted slightly higher than the others. Kneeling, she pried at the wood with a rusty hairpin she found on a nearby shelf. With a soft groan, the board gave way. Beneath it lay a small, leather-bound book, its cover cracked and edges blackened by time. Eliza's journal. Back downstairs, Marianne sat at the kitchen table, the journal spread open before her like a fragile relic. The handwriting inside was neat, looping, and unmistakably youthful, just like Lily's sketches. Most of the entries detailed ordinary things: chores, school lessons, the chill of an early frost. But as Marianne flipped further in, the tone began to shift. October 5th, 1900. I walked again last night. Mother says I wandered into the hallway and stood there whispering. I don't remember it. Only that I woke up with cold feet and my window open. October 7th. The dreams are coming more often. I hear someone calling me, but I can't see them. It's like walking through fog. I follow the voice, but when I wake, I'm never sure why. October 10th, I tried to lock my door, but this morning the key was on the wrong side. Father says I must have done it in my sleep, but I know I didn't. And then the final entries, the ones that chilled her blood. October 12th. I saw her tonight. Just for a moment. In the mirror, not me, but someone else. She looked like me. Older? Sad. Her mouth moved, but no sound came out. She pointed to the hallway. October 13th. She's waiting again. I think she wants me to find her. I'm afraid to close my eyes, but I know if I do, I'll go to her. I don't want to leave, but I feel like I have to. I wasn't sleepwalking. She's pulling me. Marianne stared at those words, her hands trembling. This wasn't just a girl with sleep disorders. This was something else entirely. Something real. And now, over 100 years later, it was happening again. With Lily, the scratches had changed. They no longer appeared randomly along the hallway walls. Now they clustered in one place, downstairs near the basement stairs. Marianne first noticed them on a cold Friday morning, just after dawn. 5 thin gouges ran diagonally across the old painted drywall, ending abruptly at the edge of the basement door. She crouched beside them, tracing the grooves with her fingertips. They were fresh, deeper than before. More deliberate. Inside the basement, the air was damp and stale, carrying the scent of dust and old wood. Lily hadn't been down here, not consciously. Neither had Marianne, not for weeks. But someone or something had. She shone her flashlight around the dim space. The stone foundation wall loomed ahead, uneven and worn. But as she moved the beam slowly across its surface, something caught her eye. An odd indentation in the stones. Not natural, too symmetrical, too much like a door. Marianne pressed against the section of wall where the scratches ended. At first, nothing happened. Then, with a little more force, the stone shifted slightly beneath her hands. Her heart pounded. With a rustling sound, part of the wall gave way, revealing a narrow opening that led into darkness. A hidden room. She hesitated only a moment before stepping inside. The air was colder here, stale. The floor was dirt-packed, the ceiling low. Shelves lined the walls, filled with rusted tools, brittle cloth, and what looked like children's toys from another century. And in the center of the room sat an old wooden chair. On it lay a small, faded doll. Lily's breath hitched behind her. "Mom." Marianne turned to see her daughter standing in the doorway, barefoot, eyes wide, unfocused, as if waking from a dream. "You brought me here," Lily whispered. "I didn't." "No." Lily stepped forward slowly, her fingers brushing the doll. "She did." Tears welled in her eyes. "She said this was ours, that we both lived here. Once." Marianne reached for her daughter's hand. It was icy cold. Later that evening, Marianne went back to Eliza's journal. One entry stood out now more than ever. October 10th, 1904. I heard her whispering again. She says we were never meant to be apart, that we shared the same room once, that we will again. Shared the same room. Marianne's blood ran cold. Had Eliza in this other presence, this unseen figure, once coexisted, and now, over 100 years later, were Lily and Eliza finally being drawn back together? The scratching began again that night. Not on the walls. This time it came from inside the hidden room. Soft, faint, like someone knocking from the other side, waiting to be let out, or remembered. Marianne didn't sleep that night. The scratching behind the hidden room wall wouldn't stop. Not until the early morning hours, when it faded into silence so thick it felt like suffocation. At first light, she was already dressed and pacing the basement floor. Lily hovered nearby, pale and quiet, eyes shadowed with exhaustion and something else, something knowing. "I have to do this," Marianne said, gripping a sledgehammer like a lifeline. Lily only nodded. "She wants you to see," she whispered. "She wants us to." Marianne stepped forward and swung. The stone wall groaned under the impact. Dust billowed. Another strike loosened more bricks, then another, and another. By midday, sweat-soaked and trembling, she broke through. Beyond lay a small root cellar, long forgotten, carved into the earth beneath the house. Cold air rushed out like breath from the grave. And on the ground, nestled among broken pottery and rusted nails, was a tiny skeleton. Curled protectively around it was a small silver locket, its surface tarnished but intact. Marianne dropped to her knees. The bones were delicate, small hands fused together over the locket. A child no older than 6 or 7, the clothing fragments barely held their shape, but enough remained to suggest a girl's dress from over a century ago. Lily gasped beside her. "She felt trapped," she whispered. "Alone. I can still feel her." "Who is she?" Marianne asked, though she wasn't sure she wanted to know. Lily crouched down slowly, brushing away dust from the locket with shaking fingers. She pried it open gently. Inside were 2 faded photos, one of Eliza Whitmore, and one of a young girl, her dark hair braided, her eyes bright despite the grainy photo. "This isn't Eliza," Lily murmured. "This is her sister." Marianne's heart pounded. Eliza had never had a sister, at least not one recorded in any town history. But now, in the cold dirt beneath their feet, lay proof otherwise. A second girl. Hidden, forgotten, and waiting. Back upstairs, Marianne sat at the kitchen table, the locket between them. Lily stared at it like it might speak. "She told me her name," Lily said quietly. "Abigail." Marianne blinked. "How?" "In my dreams. She kept saying, 'Let me go.' But I didn't understand until now." Marianne rubbed her temples. Her mind raced through what little she knew of the Whitmore family. Eliza had been the only daughter ever mentioned. But maybe that wasn't true. Maybe Abigail had been deliberately erased. "She must have died here," Marianne said aloud, piecing it together. "Locked away, hidden, maybe even starved." Lily swallowed hard. "Because of Eliza." "What do you mean?" "She wasn't sleepwalking, Mom." Lily looked up, her voice steady now. "She was following Abigail. They shared something, like I'm sharing this with Eliza now." Marianne's stomach twisted. "You think?" "They were connected," she said slowly. "Like twins," Lily answered, "even if they weren't born that way." Marianne closed her eyes. 2 girls, one past, one present, bound by something far older than either of them. And now, standing at the edge of a truth buried for over 100 years, they were finally going to hear what it had to say. Marianne didn't sleep that night. The scratching behind the hidden room wall wouldn't stop, not until the early morning hours, when it faded into silence so thick it felt like suffocation. At first light, she was already dressed and pacing the basement floor. Lily hovered nearby, pale and quiet, eyes shadowed with exhaustion and something else, something knowing. "I have to do this," Marianne said, gripping a sledgehammer like a lifeline. Lily only nodded. "She wants you to see," she whispered. "She wants us to." Marianne stepped forward and swung. The stone wall groaned under the impact. Dust billowed. Another strike loosened more bricks, then another, and another. By midday, sweat-soaked and trembling, she broke through. Beyond lay a small root cellar, long forgotten, carved into the earth beneath the house. Cold air rushed out like breath from the grave. And on the ground, nestled among broken pottery and rusted nails, was a tiny skeleton. Curled protectively around it was a small silver locket, its surface tarnished but intact. Marianne dropped to her knees. The bones were delicate, small hands fused together over the locket. A child no older than 6 or 7. The clothing fragments barely held their shape, but enough remained to suggest a girl's dress from over a century ago. Lily gasped beside her. She felt trapped, she whispered. Alone. I can still feel her. Who is she? Marianne asked, though she wasn't sure she wanted to know. Lily crouched down slowly, brushing away dust from the locket with shaking fingers. She pried it open gently. Inside were 2 faded photos, one of Eliza Whitmore, and one of a young girl, her dark hair braided, her eyes bright despite the grainy photo. This isn't Eliza, Lily murmured. This is her sister. Marianne's heart pounded. Eliza had never had a sister, at least not one recorded in any town history. But now in the cold dirt beneath their feet lay proof otherwise. A second girl, hidden, forgotten, and waiting. Back upstairs, Marianne sat at the kitchen table, the locket between them. Lily stared at it like it might speak. She told me her name, Lily said quietly. Abigail. Marianne blinked. How? In my dreams, she kept saying, let me go. But I didn't understand until now. Marianne rubbed her temples. Her mind raced through what little she knew of the Whitmore family. Eliza had been the only daughter ever mentioned, but maybe that wasn't true. Maybe Abigail had been deliberately erased. She must have died here, Marianne said aloud, piecing it together. Locked away, hidden, maybe even starved. Lily swallowed hard. Because of Eliza. What do you mean? She wasn't sleepwalking, Mom. Lily looked up, her voice steady now. She was following Abigail. They shared something, like I'm sharing this with Eliza now. Marianne's stomach twisted. You think they were connected, she said slowly. Like twins, Lily answered, even if they weren't born that way. Marianne closed her eyes. 2 girls, one past, one present, bound by something far older than either of them. And now, standing at the edge of a truth buried for over 100 years, they were finally going to hear what it had to say. The waiting was the hardest part. Marianne had sent a sample of Lily's DNA along with a preserved fragment from the skeleton, just enough for a private lab to run an analysis. She'd paid extra for rush results, but even 2 days felt like a lifetime. When the call came, she was sitting at the kitchen table with Lily beside her, twisting the phone cord absently in her fingers. Yes, the technician confirmed, there is a direct maternal lineage between your daughter and the remains found in the cellar. The odds are beyond coincidence. Marianne's breath caught in her throat. It's Eliza, she whispered. Lily sat frozen, staring at the locket still resting on the table between them. Eliza Whitmore, her ancestor. Or something far stranger than that. Later that evening, Marianne sat across from Dr. Paul Reeves in his small home office. He held the report in one hand, the locket in the other. This confirms it, he murmured. You're related. Direct line. Which means Eliza didn't vanish, Marianne finished. She survived long enough to have children. Or someone close to her did. Paul rubbed his temples. But why would the town records leave her out? Why bury her sister and pretend she never existed? Marianne shook her head. Maybe they knew what was happening. Maybe they were afraid. Dr. Reeves looked at her sharply. What do you mean? She wasn't sleepwalking, Marianne said softly. She was connected to Abigail, to something deeper. And now Lily is too. Outside, wind rattled the windows and a chill settled over the room that had nothing to do with the temperature. That night, Lily stood alone in the basement, flashlight in hand, standing before the hidden cellar door. She knelt beside the worn steps and whispered into the dark, I remember you. From somewhere inside the earth, a soft breeze stirred. A sigh, a presence, then silence. She turned back toward the stairs and froze. Standing at the top was her mother, eyes red-rimmed, face pale. "You heard her too, didn't you?" Lily asked quietly. Marianne nodded. And for the first time since all this began, neither of them tried to explain it. Because some truths weren't meant to be spoken, only understood and lived. The storm rolled in that night, sweeping over Maple Hollow with low clouds and a chill that sank deep into the bones. Marianne sat at the kitchen table again, Eliza's journal open, the locket beside it, Lily pacing nearby. Something had changed since they'd confirmed the DNA link. A shift in the air, in the way the house breathed around them. Lily stopped suddenly. "She showed me something," she said. "Just now. In my head." Marianne looked up sharply. "Who?" "Eliza." Lily's voice shook. She wasn't alone when she disappeared. In the dim, flickering light of the basement cellar, Marianne held the flashlight steady as Lily knelt near the skeleton. "She said his name was Thomas," Lily murmured. "He lived next door to the Whitmores. He used to watch her sister when the parents were away." Marianne's stomach twisted. "Thomas? Who?" Lily closed her eyes, forehead creased in concentration. "Lane," she whispered. "Thomas Lane." Marianne's breath caught. There was still a Lane family in town. Descendants still lived in the old colonial house just across the field from theirs. Dr. Paul Reeves had grown up with them. So had half the people in Maple Hollow. And now, so did this story. Back upstairs, Marianne flipped through Eliza's journal again, searching for any mention of Thomas. And there it was, scrawled in shaky handwriting. 2 entries before the end. October 12th, 1900. "Thomas came by again today. He brought flowers like he always does. I told him I don't want his attention. But he says we're alike, that we understand things others don't. He wants to show me something hidden beneath the old root cellar. He says it belongs to us. I'm afraid to go, but I feel like I have to." Marianne swallowed hard. Lily stood behind her, whispering softly. "He promised her secrets. Said Abigail had been hiding something important. Something only they could find together. But it was a lie." Lily nodded slowly. "He took her down there, then locked the door." That night, Marianne drove past the Lane house, an ivy-covered Victorian perched on the edge of town, its windows dark but somehow still watching. She thought of Daniel Lane, Thomas's great-grandson. A quiet man in his 60s, polite, friendly enough, but always keeping to himself. Never married. No children. Now the question pressed hard against her chest. Did he know? Had the truth been passed down through generations? Not in words, but in silence? Or worse, had it never been buried at all? Back home, Lily sat motionless on the couch, staring at the wall where the scratches had first appeared. "She can't let go," Lily said quietly, "because no one ever said sorry." Behind them, a soft creak echoed from the hallway, like someone standing just out of reach, waiting for recognition, for justice, for peace. They buried Eliza on a quiet Saturday morning. The old Maple Hollow Cemetery had never seen a service for her before. No stone marked where she might have gone. But now, with only Marianne, Lily, and Dr. Paul Reeves standing beneath the cloudy sky, they laid Eliza Whitmore to rest beside her sister Abigail. A single silver locket was placed in the casket, its tarnished faces still holding their faded smiles. Lily stood with her eyes closed as the wind stirred the fallen leaves around them. "She's not afraid anymore," she whispered. Marianne reached for her daughter's hand. "Are you?" Lily looked up at her mother, really looked at her, and after a long pause, shook her head. "No." It was the first time in months that she truly meant it. Back home, life felt subtly different. The scratching stopped. Not all at once, but gradually, like waves retreating from a shore. By the end of the week, the hallway walls were silent. Lily slept through the night without wandering. She began sketching again, Dreams no longer dark and strange, but full of light, color, and memory. One evening, as they sat together on the porch watching the last of the autumn sun dip behind the hills, Marianne asked what she'd been wondering since the beginning. "Do you think she'll ever come back?" Lily thought about it. "I don't think she wanted to stay," she said gently. "She just needed to be known, to be remembered." Marianne nodded, eyes glistening. "We did that for her." "And for us too," Lily added. Winter came softly to Maple Hollow. The house no longer felt heavy with secrets. Curtains were opened, music played again, Christmas decorations went up without hesitation or fear. Marianne and Lily rebuilt something deeper than routine, something real. They talked late into the night about grief, about love lost and found again in unexpected ways. They laughed more, wept sometimes, and always held each other close when the wind rattled the windows. Dr. Reeves stopped by often, no longer as a doctor, but as an old friend who had lived part of this story too. And when he asked if they'd ever consider moving out of the old house, Marianne smiled. "This place holds history," she said, "but we're writing our own now." Lily leaned against her shoulder. Together they watched the snow fall over the fields where generations once walked. Some gone, some remembered, and some finally free. Together they watched the snow fall over the fields where generations once walked. Some gone, some remembered, and some finally free.